We're going to bring up the working group report on Bridge Deck Chloride Sampling. Andrew Blower is a registered electrical engineer working for the Oregon Department of Transportation Bridge Preservation Crew as a corrosion engineer.
So as John said, this came up as a technical topic during our monthly calls in the Western group. It also came up in Orlando as well. Several states were either interested or doing chloride testing, but there was a lot of variation in how they were going about business, mostly in the Northwest. So the scope of work was to develop a sponsor guide on Bridge Deck Chloride Sampling and Testing, develop some specifications and a contract template that others could use to start their own programs. I'll go through all the names. Here's the working group on the owner side, and here's the industry side, and we had great participation. This working group actually had a unique problem that it was hard to get people to stop. People were very excited about this topic and really interested to get into it. Chapter 1 goes through an overview of what chloride-induced corrosion deterioration is and discusses what a preservation intervention looks like versus a rehabilitation intervention with regards to chloride, because it doesn't necessarily meet some of the definitions that we're used to, because chlorides can really bite you out of nowhere. A deck can be in relatively good shape, and then all of a sudden it starts deteriorating and you don't really see it coming. Chapter 2 looks at what network level chloride sampling might look like. There's a couple ways you could really go about this, and this is more of a discussion. I know Chris Long put a lot into this section because it's really up to the owners on how they want to go about this from an asset management standpoint, but there's a condition-based criteria that you could look at, whether that's deck condition, MBI ratings, element level data, environmental factors, or maintenance and project history, whether you have a low permeability wearing surface on there or whether you've put a structural overlay on there. And then there's importance-based sampling that you could look at: operating cost, bridge significance, structural features, historic significance, that sort of thing, and base your methodology on which structures you want to sample around that as well. And then there's some discussion in that chapter on how that would tie into program management, managing the sample data and how you would extrapolate those data points to characterize corridors. Chapter 3 is where we get in the weeds on the project level sampling and the sampling methodology. The methods of sampling, powder versus coring mostly, number of samples, and where on the decks you're going to take those samples. And then we discuss field testing versus laboratory testing, some of the factors that'll affect the outcome, effective sulfate content, and some other factors that might impact the outcome of your sampling. Chapter 4 discusses modeling, how you model those results, how you process the data to obtain diffusion coefficients and surface loadings, and that's where you will get your service life predictions. And we keep these intentionally basic because the intent is to provide the user an idea of whether you want to have a rehabilitation type intervention or a preservation type intervention for programming future work. And the idea is not to get down to the month of when damage is going to start happening on your bridge, because you want to get into an idea of when this damage might occur, because we know projects happen kind of in a windowed time frame. But there's a lot of factors that go into service life prediction, and it's just that, it's a prediction. So we keep it basic to make it easy on the end user. Then we have a couple of appendix in there. A has some example projects, so you can kind of see what this might look like, where a couple DOTs have offered these sample projects, shows results and some project recommendations, so you can see what it would look like. Appendix B is a boilerplate statement of work there to assist DOTs with what contracting might look like. It's set up so there's no legal language in there, it's just what would go in there as far as scope of work. So you could insert agencies, traffic control, handbook, your legal language, all of your own contracting language in there, and it really ties in well with the report guidance. So we could argue on how complete it is. It's almost done. Final review's happening now. We're working towards publishing. It should be distributed soon. As soon as the final review is finished, a small subgroup's kind of working on final review, getting the finishing touches in its current form for distribution to the regional partnerships. And then we're looking to publish it through TSP2 and then to coordinate with distribution through MAC and AASHTO, publishing on their website as well. So, and then for future work, we're looking to look at additional factors that affect deck deterioration, because this could really expand the conversation. This group is just looking at chloride testing, but there's a lot of factors that go into how that goes into your service life model, whether that's cover depth, rutting, cracking. There's a lot of other factors to look at. We're going to also develop a 30-minute presentation that we'd like to share with all the partnerships. So hopefully next year there will be someone sitting here giving a 30-minute presentation on the content of the report. And like I said, service life and future project recommendations were intentionally kept short in there to make it easy on the end user. And these could be topics of future reports to go more in depth on the type of interventions you might have based on the results. Yeah, it's not a short document. In the future, we may look to make kind of a pocket guide type version as well. I don't know. I haven't seen it in its form. I've been out on the last couple calls, but it's got a lot to it. There's a lot in there. Pretty long. It's a pretty long guide. It's
about 60 plus pages, and we're hoping to do an executive summary, hopefully summarizing.
Executive summary.
Yeah, the entire document into maybe 2 or 3 pages. That would be the next step we're working on.
Thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.